I feel like most people underestimate the value of soft clippers. It's a very easy, helpful tool that even beginners could use to help add some more roundness and warmth to their tracks, and even the most experienced producers and engineers will also use soft clippers to help really polish off their track. Whether you're putting a soft clipper on an individual instrument like a guitar or a kick drum, or even putting it on something more like a melody or drum bus, you can really add a lot more presence to your track, adding more headroom for your mastering, in which case you could also use a soft clipper. It's a very easy, versatile tool to use for anyone at any sort of experience level. And today I've got a great one to show you guys by Air Technology. This is Air Soft Clipper. On the subtle end, helping you with the mix of your track, but really cranking up the heat on this one is great for sound design as well. So today I'll be showing you guys all the different applications you could use the Air Soft Clipper in many different facets like individual instruments, buses, and even a final master. So let's get into it. Okay, first of all, here's the track that we'll be using for today. So the track definitely does not sound bad, right? I just think it sounds a bit flat and could really benefit for some more presence in there. And one thing we can do to help that is to add the Air Soft Clipper. And like I mentioned, we can use this in many different stages of our mixing as well. So starting off with one instrument, let's try out our bass right here. Now, this is a very deep, very rich sort of bass here, so you guys might not even be able to hear that on phone speakers or anything like that. So let's try putting on some Air Soft Clipper. Here's what's going to look like right when you open it up, where it's a very simple design with just two knobs, drive and post level. Even there right now, just by putting it on without testing anything, you can probably hear that a bit more through your phones, but we can definitely increase that a lot more. Now here you saw me panic and go to the post level. This is not going to be a tool that will actually gain match on its own. You are going to do it manually. That is one thing to note, but it's nice they let you gain match it yourself if you do need to. Definitely a lot more presence now, right in that top end. Still a lot more round and still has that warmth, but a lot more presence. And now we're going to extremes over here. Now one other thing that's important to notice over here, it's very interesting, is that at halfway, we're already at 100%. Anything past that, just going slightly further, we're already now at 200%. 3/4, we're at 1,675, and then all the way we are at, I think that's 10,000%. All right, so it definitely would be easy to go quite overboard here when you're just trying to add some more stuff for mixing, like on a guitar. But if you are messing around with any sort of like sound design, this will add a lot of grit to anything that you put on it. As we heard with that bass there, but it could work well on maybe some synthesizers and then definitely drums too. And you might be wondering, how much more can I talk about here with two different knobs? Well, there's actually quite a bit more by going over to the advanced side, where we've got quite a bit more that we could look at and do. But now we can see we've got three different algorithms for that drive right there. First one's going to be Tan H. I will be honest with you guys, this is going to be an early release product. Just to be fully transparent, you guys over at Air Music Tech did send me this product for free to test out for you guys, but I'm not obligated to say anything about the plugin. It's my 100% honest review as always. This time, I did not get a manual per se. I got a few things here and there, but the one thing it's actually not covering is going to be these right here, so I don't exactly know. I will say the first one right here, the 10H, is going to add a lot more high end to your track. The sign's going to be a bit warmer, and then parabolic seems to be something in between both. So here's the 10H. I like the parabolic a lot in certain situations. I think on basses it works really well. All three of them do have their places, but especially on like a bass, the parabolic adds a really good high end like usual with the 10H, but then also keeps that depth that the sine wave has. In some cases like melodies, I might not want to keep that low end in there, so I'll use the first one, the 10H, that adds more presence and that's it. But on something like basses and drums probably too, the parabolic is a really great option. And as something as specific as putting it on a single instrument, that's pretty much all that I'll really need to do here. So we're going to go ahead and be done with this one right here. In fact, I'm going to delete it as I've got plans ahead of us. Let's go and put it on the entire melody bus right here. Going back over to the advanced. Increase that drive. See, here we're at 203%, and it's not really sounding too obnoxious or anything like that. That's why I didn't want to have it on the bass right now, because it's not exactly the vibe I want to go for. But right now at 200%, we're sitting fine. Okay, so now at 424%, we're starting to get that distortion whenever that bass hit comes in. So I think going back on down to something even like 240% right here should be fine. Sounds fine right there. A little bit of grumble on the bass, but that's not really a bad thing. I think actually that sounds very pleasing. Let's start the sine algorithm. Okay, keeping that warmth here, but I don't really want that from my instruments, from my melodies. Parabolic still sounds very full on both ends of the spectrum. And now we're going into a bit of the bigger picture here by putting it onto a melody bus. We can talk about some of these other things over here. Now, I would argue for pretty much any time you're using a soft clipper or any sort of limiting factor for your mixing, I would recommend turning on True Peak. There's not really a point in not doing it, in my personal opinion. That and anti-alias will be helping us minimize distortion and artifacts, keeping it very crisp and clear. Okay, now for stereo link right here. So this is going to help with the distortion being linked together on these separate left and right channels. It's not going to make your entire melody mono. That's not the point here. That's also going to help out with our imbalances here. So not making our sound mono, just going to help out with our distortion that soft clipper's doing. Now here you can play with the release if you are a bit more experienced in mixing. It's a pretty clear difference. Here's with it off and on. So if you want to play around with that little nuance right there, feel free. I'm going to leave that one off for today. And from there, all we have is the mix and the out level. Just be careful when playing with the out level. If you put this one too high, it does not have a built-in limiter. It can peak. So let's look at the in and out audio and play with the post level to try and gain match a little bit more. I think the sound sounds way more full and rich overall. Again, I'm adding it very tastefully. I'm not going overboard. It's just to help me out get some more headroom for my mastering. Having it sound more full with a bit more presence over here at a lower dB means we can add some more room for our drums. Speaking of which, we should try this on some drums as well. Here's our dry drum loop. Which again, they sound fine. I think that for this sort of track, I want there to be a lot more punch. So we're gonna go on over to the advanced page, and I'm gonna go kind of crazy with this drive knob over here. Okay, so already adding a lot more punch and a lot more grit. And as you can see, we've got so much more presence now, and we are at a significantly lower dB than before. But I think we can actually go a little bit further here with a nice little mixing tip that I have for you guys, and do a kind of parallel compression sort of deal. So right now we've got a very dramatic effect over here, and a very clean sounding drum loop before adding the soft clipper. So now we can go and dial down the mix, maybe like 50%, and then really add the character as much as we want, even increase the drive. There, that keeps the drums very clean like how they were before, but then adds some of that punch tastefully with the mix knob. Alright, now for the final stage that I would use this is my mastering. I know that a lot of people like to make a big deal about mastering and making it as perfectly polished as possible. For me at this stage, I'm just making tracks for videos nowadays. I'm not making full-blown songs. So one, it just wouldn't be very time efficient for me personally, but even if you are working with other artists, you don't want to be compressing too much because then there's not going to be any room for the actual mastering with their vocals on top of it. It's going to sound like it's sitting on top of an already mastered track, which you don't want that. I think you should definitely still EQ and compress in your mixing stage, but for mastering, I don't think you need to do too much if you're just a beat maker. Which, guys, my entire mastering chain right now is going to be by getting the fruity limiter. I know, crazy. Going on over to the limiter, put that all the way to the top, and then just decrease the saturation till around like minus 0.3, and then increase the gain from there. Enough right there. Enough so my drums right there will not be peeking through, and I'm pretty much good to go. That's all that my entire mastering chain has been. So what I can do now, instead of using Fruity Limiter, is going over to Soft Clipper and increase that drive to where I want it. Helps me get to my target loudness over here from going from minus 9 dB to just under 0. That's, for me, that's what I like. And to keep the fullness, I actually might go on down to Parabolic. So that's going to be all that I can show you guys here for the Soft Clipper. It's a very simple plugin. It's very easy to use. I think that beginners can really gravitate towards this. It's a very quick, simple, easy way to get a lot more loudness in your track. Personally, I think that Soft Clippers are a way easier tool to actually understand and use very well compared to like a limiter. It's really brainless in a sort of way. Like for the mastering, all I did was increase the drive knob and that was it. Beginners can add more loudness to their tracks. People like me will be happy about the convenience of it, and even pros can use it for any sort of way from individual instruments, buses, and anything else. A huge thank you from the guys over at Air Music Technology for sending me this product right here to show to you guys. And thank you for watching this video all the way through. If you want to go pick up the Soft Clipper, there'll be a link in my description.